Select Board meeting, April 11th, 2022. Please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin the agenda, well, item 460, I just want to congratulate Selectman Priest on his re-election, and I also want to congratulate Selectman Mike Espaillo on his winning his first Select Board contest. So congratulations both.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So item 460 is Select Board reorganization. Traditionally, after every election, if the membership so chooses, the board gets reorganized. And I'll take any motions or anything if anybody's interested.
Make a motion to make Nick Priest chairman.
Okay, motion's been made to make
Second.
Nick Priest chairman. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? 501. Well, that means you and I, well,
Little swapsies.
we do a little swap.
Gotta swap your nameplates too.
Yeah, all right. Should we, because we have to do vice chair now. So,
I'll just slide this out and
Slide the other one right in.
slide it in and we'll swap seats.
all right.
A little do-si-do action. You can take your iPad while I fiddle with this.
Oh, yeah, we have a lot of time.
Oh, thanks. You all can participate in this process while I play this game.
This is a requirement to be an elected official, by the way.
You can't, oh, not that one. See? Upside down. Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your trust in my ability to be chairman for the next year. So continuing along with item 460, do I see here a motion for a new vice chair?
Make a motion to make Mike Runyon vice chairman.
I'll second.
All right, motion and second made for Mike Runyon as vice chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Do-si-do, kid.
Abstain?
Do-si-do.
Okay, 500.
All right.
Come on over, Jim.
Into that seat, Jim.
Oh, is this the low one?
You get the hot seat?
I'll have to fix that.
Might be too tall for you.
Yeah. Sorry, we'll make it work for that.
Oh, no, I like this.
Jim, you want your iPad?
Yeah, please. Thank you.
I don't know.
Okay.
Just ordered on
With that out of the way, we'll move on to item 461, Children's Mental Health Awareness.
Thank you for allowing me to come here this evening. It is that time of year. I'm actually coming before the board to get permission for the week of May 1st through 7th to light the Common up green as a way to bring attention to Children's Mental Health Awareness Week. May is the month, or the month of May is Mental Health Awareness, but specifically for that first week in May, it's bringing attention to children's mental health awareness. And I'd like to be able to do that piece again this year.
Okay. Yes, Paul?
Christine, can I just ask you to identify yourself for the folks at home?
Thank you. Christine Shrew, and I'm the Director of Youth and Family Services here in Burlington.
Thank you, Paul. All right, any discussion? We'll start, Jim.
No discussion at this point.
Joe?
No discussion.
Mike?
No, this is year 2 or 3, I believe.
year 2, yes.
And sure, I'm happy.
Last year was the
happy
first
to
year.
support this agenda item.
Great. Mike?
I'd like to say that now more than ever, the focus on mental health is so important, especially coming out of the pandemic with especially with our kids and the rough 2 years they've been. So I was happy to see that this is the first item on first meeting after the reorg. So I'm fully in favor, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you, appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Yeah, I concur with Mr. Espaillo. This is massively important.
Absolutely. It's been a difficult, the past 2 years have been challenging, and this year specifically, even with kids coming back to school, the challenges that they've had to endure over the past year have been, really difficult, so.
Yeah. All right, well, if there's no further discussion, I'm going to entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve Children's Mental Health Away Week on May 1st through the 7th.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 500.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have 462, use of the common. We have someone here to speak on that? Yes. Sir, come on up. You can come right up to the microphone here. And please just take a moment, introduce yourself.
My name is Joe Sullivan. I represent Fellowship Bible Church, 71 Center Street.
Great, welcome. What can we do for you tonight?
Well, I'd like to get permission for use of the common for a week through Sunday, Easter Sunday, starting tomorrow.
Okay. Do we have any information from Lynn?
Yeah,
We
he's
have everything.
been in touch, yep. So we have him reserved for, if after approval, the sign to go up tomorrow morning.
Okay, great. All right, question from the board. Mike, we'll start with you.
Again, something we've been doing forever, as far as I know, and I'm happy to support the Easter sunrise services. I just hope you get some good weather. I think, if I remember correctly, last year was rather chilly out there. That's it.
Okay. Mike?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
All right, Joe?
No comments.
Jim?
Nothing further.
All right, if there's no further discussion, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, with the motion and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 500.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along, we've got item 463, block party requests. Anybody here from Litchfield Way? Online, perhaps?
Yes, Stephanie Tulo.
Hey there, can you hear me okay?
We can.
How you doing tonight?
Good, thank you. So I'm Stephanie Ventulo, and I'm here on behalf of our neighbors on Lieutenant Litchfield Way, requesting approval for a block party on June 18th from 4 to 10 p.m.
Okay.
We are hoping we'll probably have around 50 people. Our intention is to stay on our property. We weren't planning on closing the street. If you're not familiar with the road, it's a very small road, and we will just be in front of our cul-de-sac, and all of our neighbors at 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all in agreement that we would like to have a block party.
Okay, great. And then from a paperwork perspective, this is all squared away? Okay. Just any discussion? Jim, we'll start with you.
No, I think I love when neighborhoods do this. I know we've approved other neighborhoods where it's actually a cut through. Having it on a cul-de-sac is a much better choice. My only question is there a rain date?
What was that again? Is there a what?
A rain date?
There is no rain date right now. We right now have June 18th, but we don't have a rain date at this point.
No further questions.
Okay, Joe? No. All right, Mike?
No, I'm quite familiar with Tenant Litchfield Way. I used to do my landscaping business. There's a lot of properties down there. I anticipate absolutely no problem at all with traffic down there. I'm happy to support this request.
I spoke to Heidi at 7 Litchfield, and I told her I may be crashing, so I just wanted to let you know in advance.
No, that will be great.
All right, plus one on Mike's invite then. All right, well, if there's no more discussion on this, then we'll put to a vote. I need a motion first, so I'll take a motion.
Make a motion to approve block party.
Second.
Motion seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? 500. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great time.
All right, moving right along, 464, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee. Saeed, why don't you come up? So as the liaison to this, I'll just kind of set some groundwork for tonight. So the subcommittee is before us this evening for one of some of the tactics that are being proposed. This first is an update to our mission statement, select board mission statement. Particularly the one bullet item that centers around the soul of the mixed diversity. I'm paraphrasing at this point. But I'm going to pass it over to Saeed, who has come to help walk us through the change, and then we can have some discussion. Saeed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sayed Ghani, member of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee here in the town of Burlington. So, as the chair just mentioned, we have the point for discussion here is to the suggestion to update the mission statement of the town of Burlington. Has anybody had a chance to review the documentation? Perfect. So the goal behind this proposal is to update, like I said, the mission statement to bring it up to time, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. I mean, the composition of the town, as all of us are aware, has changed considerably over the past 3, 4, 5 decades. And so we are proposing that the words diversity, equity, and inclusion are enmeshed, if you will, into the mission statement. And these words are coming straight from the thesaurus. So, and they're defined in the handouts that you may have already seen. So, would it help if I were to read off the proposed mission statement, or I guess I'm looking for direction in terms of how should we discuss this?
Let's go ahead and read it as it stands, and then read the update, and then we can open it for discussion.
Okay, perfect. All right, so the current mission statement states the following. The Select Board is an elected body of 5 members and comprises the chief executive branch of the local government. The mission statement for this board is as follows. To provide services that promote the health and safety of residents.
Sorry, I'm just gonna stop you for a second. Let's just focus on the one bullet that we're looking to update.
Sure.
That way we're not getting caught up on the other 5 bullets that we have.
That's fine with me, sure. So the biggest change that we're looking at is to, is currently bullet number 5, which states to create a sense of community within the town to develop the soul of the community while recognizing the mixed, diverse nature of the community. So we are proposing to bring bullet 5 to bullet number 1, move it to number 1, and then to change it as follows. Create a sense of community within the town of Burlington to embrace and engage in diversity, equity, and inclusion, so that the soul of the community is to accept who we are and support our efforts to succeed in how we live in the diverse nature of the town.
All right. So with that update on the table, I'll open a discussion for the board. Thoughts? Jim?
I just one quick question on the draft. It looks like, I agree wholeheartedly with the wording. It looks like bullet point 5 was left in.
That's correct. It should be struck out. That was an oversight on our part.
Okay, no, that's all.
Okay. Joe?
Nope.
Okay. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It seems to me that we're pandering to recent criticisms of late. A mission statement is an important document that has not been revised in perhaps 40 years. It really deserves a top-to-bottom review and should not be focused on one topic. There are equally important goals and objectives to reflect the current times. Education comes to mind, our efforts behind providing clean, potable water to the community. Economic development has changed dramatically over the last several years. Public health, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and we've worked very hard to address some of those things. So demands and deadlines do not produce a quality document, okay? We should take a holistic approach over the next few months to carefully craft a mission statement that accurately reflects our goals and objectives and not focus on this one issue.
Okay. Mike?
I have no problem with the wording. I think if you want to add in those words, I think that's okay. It doesn't really, it all seems like common sense to me. It seems the wording is fine. And if we make this change, we want to take a look after the whole thing, I'm in favor of that also. But I have no problem with the wording here.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I don't disagree, Mike, with what you're saying in terms of need to take a holistic look at the mission statement at large. I think that this committee's job was to look at the DEI focus specifically, so that's the lens that they're looking at, everything that the town kind of has under all of our documentation. So this was the one focus of their recommendation, our recommendation. You know, we didn't feel it was appropriate to touch anything else within these, bullet points. But this one particular bullet point that focused on the soul of the community, was speaking to the notion of what DEI kind of stands for. So, I agree. I think that we should take a look at the whole mission statement. Absolutely. Okay. So with that, right now it's on for approval. If there's no further discussion, someone wants to make a motion to approve this particular bullet, we can do that. Yes, Jim?
I just want to follow up with this discussion. I'm sure there's other boards and commissions or whatever in town that have been formed since our mission statement's been written, so maybe we could ask, like your example of economic development, ask for their input on what they believe our mission statement should include, but, again, this is strictly from the eyes of the DEI committee, so.
Yep. Yeah.
That being said, I'll make a motion that we approve this draft with the exception of that duplicate bullet point, for our mission statement, and hopefully that's my motion.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
All right, motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Abstain? Okay, 401. I'm sorry? 402. Okay, sorry, I didn't hear you, Joe. All right, so 302. Because I can do math.
320.
320, because I can get the order right, too. We're hitting on all fronts. All right, Said, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
So the only other DEI related discussion that I was hoping we'd have tonight was further conversation around the special meeting. I myself was thinking about this, and I think that if we're gonna hold a special meeting, we need to decide the purpose of the meeting, because if it's meant to be actionable, then an actual meeting makes sense, right? An actual special meeting. If we're looking to just have a conversation with stakeholders across the town, across the community, schools, whoever, then maybe it's more of a town hall where we don't have to follow Robert's Rules of Orders. And so that's kind of where my brain began to bisect the thought, but I wanted to put it to the board for discussion tonight, to see if we could start moving toward, nailing something down.
Can I just, I know I didn't ask a question before, can I just ask one question, because I'm really thinking about this a lot. When it says in here, the new one, it says, is to accept who we are and support our efforts. Who are they talking about? Who are you guys talking about? The whole community, right?
Well,
The whole community,
through the board.
whether it's diversified or whoever it may be, right?
Right.
That's what I'm trying to figure, it's not just who we are, this is about the whole community.
About Burlington.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because as a select board, we represent every
Right.
community member. Yeah.
Okay.
And look, I mean, I know that we've approved this tonight, but if, we feel like a nuanced piece of language needs to adjust as we're reviewing the whole thing, we can go back and make that change too. So it's not on the table, but I appreciate the board's vote tonight. So onto the topic of the meeting. Does anybody have any thoughts? I don't want to just call out.
You're looking for some sort of format or type of,
Nick, what were the two, Mr. Chairman,
So-
what were the two options again? Sorry.
So I guess it's a couple of things. It's what are we hoping to accomplish? Because I think what we're hoping to accomplish will then dictate what type of a meeting we want to kind of hold. I don't want to just pigeonhole us into something that's going to become an unproductive course of action.
I personally think if you have a meeting, it should be with Robert's Rules of Order, because if not, it could get loud, or who knows who's coming. You know what I mean? So I don't know that, I'm not saying anything about any organizations or groups or whatever, but if you don't have some type of an order in an organization like this here, if we just didn't have any rules or order here, then people would be barking left and right, no one would have to stop and speak and let the chairman do his thing or whatever. So that's just my personal opinion. I think it should be some type of definitely Robert's Rules of Order if you're gonna do it that way.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, this is obviously a sensitive, hot topic for everyone right now. And I think as a town, we've got to start, instead of talking past each other, start talking to each other and start listening to each other. And this is like really hear each other from what everyone's perspective is, because we all have different perspectives here. I think it should be a less formal meeting, as more of a town meeting feel. And what we can do is set up maybe guidelines before the meeting, like a community rules of order on how to conduct the meeting, but not as stringent as Robert's rules. And we need someone in charge of the meeting to make sure that we stay on tact and stay within those readings so it remains respectful, remains productive, and remains, calm. Because I agree with Selectman Morandi that it could get heated and out of control. So I think there is a way to have a less formal meeting, but if we set the ground rules at the beginning, pass them around to everyone and say, hey, everyone's gonna be respectful. You're not gonna interrupt people, you're gonna hear everyone's point of view. And then we need someone in charge of the meeting who is, the chairman of the meeting to say, and to make sure we stay on tact. But I do agree with Selectman Morandi that it could, you have to set those rules, and make sure it's a productive discussion.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? Yeah, Jim?
I just, I would refer to it as like a hybrid type of meeting. It would be an open meeting with rules. So just to echo what Mike said.
Okay. All right, so then maybe, if somebody wants to work with me on an agenda that we can think of and then work with the DEI committee during their next meeting, maybe we can land on, what we're hoping to get out of it, and then we can kind of figure out timelines from there. Does that sound appropriate for everybody?
Okay.
Okay with that, just a general consensus. Okay, all right.
I can work with you on that, Nick, if you need someone.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, sorry.
It's okay. All right, there's nothing else on that, and, someone who asked for this to be on tonight, I think that we can work offline to the next, Mike and I can take this offline, and then we can report back to the DEI committee at our next meeting on the 27th. Right, thank you. For anyone who's watching at home, I'm pointing at the DEI committee who has all come tonight, so thank you all for being here. All right, moving along to 465, we got an approval for a new Class 2 license. We have a proponent here. Yes, sir, come on up and identify yourself for the board and the public.
Good evening. My name is Andre Parisian. I'm applying for no Class 2 license. And I've been doing the kind of business for 17 months, but it was under somebody else, associated with somebody else. But I decided to open it by my own now. This town offered me that possibility, and then I'm applying to get approved for this license.
Excellent. All right, discussion. Joe, we'll start with you.
At this point, I read the whole thing. It sounds like he's got everything intact. No cars on, where is this? I forget the address was.
No cars on site.
15th District.
Looks pretty good to me.
Okay, Mike?
Yeah, you guys might recall, these online auto sales are kind of troublesome to me. For the fact that we've got a number of licensed used car dealers here in Burlington who actually own the property, they pay taxes, they've been doing business for a long, long, long time. And, if he owned a property that he had a garage and he had cars that he was moving, I'd be fine with it. But historically, I've been opposed to these online licenses. I don't know, Burlington seems to be a mecca for these online sales licenses for some reason. Nothing personal, Andre, it's just I tend to favor the folks who actually live and do business in town and own their property and pay us taxes on regularly. For that reason, I'm gonna probably be opposed to this as I have been previously.
Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Andre, if I may ask, I'm not really familiar with this type of business. Is it just an office where you do online car sales out of, or what exactly is the operation?
It's gonna be from auction to auction. So I go to this auction, I bought the car, and then I get the car transported to another auction, and I sell it to the other auction.
Okay, so that's how you don't have cars on site. They just
No cars outside.
Auction.
I'm gonna use the office only to do some paperwork and then to work sometimes. But the transaction gonna be from auctions to auctions.
Would customers ever have the opportunity to come in and talk to you, or is everything done?
No, I don't have to deal with customers.
Nothing, no.
No, nothing with customers. It's gonna be from auction. I've been doing that. So buy the car from, let's say, for example, I go to New Hampshire. I bought the car from the New Hampshire. I put the car to a car carrier. They transport to Billerica, Laneway, America Auto Auction, and then I sell the car to America Auto Auctions. That's why I say it's gonna be online sales, from auctions to auctions.
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Jim?
Sure, sir, I'm just curious, only because we've had a few of these come before us before, and people operating out of their house where there's no overhead. They're doing the online licensing, online sales with a Class 2 license. I'm just curious why you'd want to pay rent down at District Ave. I'm sure it's probably not the cheapest rent because all online. I mean, it's just curious why there's a physical office when I've seen people do the same thing from their house, that's all.
Yeah.
Why would you have the need for this office? Not that it's a bad idea, I'm just saying it's costing you money.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sure you know. I'm curious
I know.
why you have an alternative that wouldn't cost you money.
I know, most likely, when I'm outside, I just stay outside, but I need the office to do some paperwork, to do some stuff at the office.
I'm just curious because I've seen, like I said, we've seen people do this before, and they do the paperwork from their house, in their pajamas probably, but why pay rent when you don't have to? But that's just a little bit of curiosity on my part, but I'm not opposed to this.
And I believe that was one requirement, I should have an office.
You have to have an address, right? Lynn, I'm sorry.
There was some questions that they would have to potentially go to the building department zoning issues if it was residential. So the office space is the recommended route.
Recommended, okay. All right.
Yes.
All right, so,
Okay. I mean, hey, all the power to you. I think it's great. I mean, Selectman Rennie raises a point. For some reason, there's a lot of online sales that seem to be coming to Burlington. But, I mean, for the purposes of you conducting business, I think, it's great. Congratulations. I have no issue with it personally. If there's no further discussion, I'll put it out for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion made and seconded.
Somebody in the back had a hand up.
Oh. What's up, Jeff?
Are you gonna do public comment?
I mean, I wasn't planning on it, but would you like to?
I had a couple of questions, and I think someone online has their hand raised too.
All right, let's do 1 minute per public comment. Jeff, you can go first, since you caught my eye. Just identify yourself for everybody.
How you doing? Jeff DeBona, Town Meeting, Precinct 3. Through the chair, I just had a quick question. Are you gonna be applying for Section 5 license to get a wholesale dealer plate? And doing it that way? Is that part of the reason why you're going for the office rather than doing a home-based business?
When I was inquired about information how to open it, that was one requirement.
Okay, so you are gonna do the dealer plates? That was my question.
I can do the dealer plate in the next. For example, I can drive a car to the auction and then from auction to another auction. But the main plan is not to have the dealer plate.
Yeah.
Is to have the license, so to have access to sell cars from auctions to auctions.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just asking if that was where you're gonna register the dealer plate out of. That was my question. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Strauss, I see your hand up online.
Oh, sorry, no, that's an accident. Let me put my hand down. Apologize.
All right, thanks so much. All right, so a motion was made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 4-1-0. Gotta write that down. Here we go.
Nice job.
Hit my stride. All right, you're all set, thank you.
You'll hear from the office tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, item 466, a continued public hearing for all alcohol Del Frisco's. Paul, what's happening here?
Yeah.
Well, if things go well, you'll be transferring the Del Frisco's license on the next agenda item. So the purpose for that public hearing is no longer necessary.
Okay,
So I think the board can take a vote to close the public hearing.
great, let's do that.
So moved.
So moved, seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Been a long
Opposed,
time, but-
abstain,
Abstain.
4-0-1.
Good.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
Yeah, I told you, I hit my stride.
A meeting, you're already there.
I'll trip and fumble, don't worry.
Absolutely.
Frisco's
all right.
off the agenda.
Yeah, moving on to 467, we got a new public hearing for all alcohol license transfers for Strega, DBA Strega Italiano, 92 Middlesex Turnpike. Do we have proponents here? Come on down. As you're doing so, you're gonna need a motion to accept the advertisement as written.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? 5-0-0 for that. Public hearing is open. Hello.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Trish Farnsworth, I represent the proposed applicant. I'm with Lawson and Weissen in Boston, and with me is Kim Dinsmore, who is the Executive Vice President of Restaurant Operations for PPX Hospitality, and also the proposed manager on the license. As you know, this was the Del Frisco's that has been closed since before the pandemic. And my client is made an agreement with the landlord, so they has signed a lease. So we'll take over the premises, and the license, Del Frisco's has agreed to transfer what rights, Del Frisco had in the license to what's called Strega Burlington LLC. And just for also further background, PPX Hospitality owns the Strega restaurants and Legal Seafoods and Smith & Walensky. So Kim can tell you a little bit more about the plan for this location. It's gonna be a Strega Italiano, if you'd like to hear that.
That'd be great, yeah. Kim, the floor is yours.
Sure. So we've inherited quite a space. We just want to put our Strega touches on it, if you will, move it from a steakhouse to an Italian restaurant. Excuse me. We've got a simple remodel, really some new furniture, not a major program there. And we're looking forward to, embracing a new location. It's a little bit bigger than the locations that we have, and it's going to be the flagship of what we'd like to see for the future growth for the brand.
Awesome. All right. Since this is a public hearing, I'll open it to the public. First, is there anybody in the room who'd like to talk about this? I know it's exciting stuff, folks. All right.
It is to me.
Yeah, I mean,
It's pretty exciting.
Anybody online that would like to speak to this, go ahead and just raise your hand virtually with the little click button. No? Okay. All right. Paul.
Attorney Farnsworth, can you just update the board on, is there any change in the number of seats in the new restaurant compared to previously?
Correct, I think it's less seats. They actually went for the special permit, so it's 211 interior, 82 seasonal patio, so total 293 seats.
Thank you.
Okay. Joe, you're the alcohol subcommittee that would have had any conversations, any?
No, I'm not gonna add anything because it's just it's basically, it's gonna be what it was before, just a little bit smaller. Strega's gonna be great for the town of Burlington. Glad to see Del Frisco's has finally let go of the license and we're gonna move on from there. So there's really nothing, they're all gonna be tip certified and everything else has to go along with that as well. So there's really not too much from the alcohol side of it that they haven't already discussed at the other meetings that they were here at. So
All right, Jim, anything?
Just, as someone who went there when it was Del Frisco's, I think the ambiance is outdoors as well. Are you gonna keep the heaters, the gas flames out there? Or?
If we're able to fix it up, it's had some damage being left alone for the last couple of years, but we would like to keep it.
Okay, I know sometimes it's difficult to get out of there, but the people I know that went to Del Frisco's, that was minor compared to, that was a great restaurant. And I'm very confident with Strega. I've been to a couple of Stregas, so I just think it's a great asset to the town of Burlington. I'm sure, I have all the confidence in the world you guys you'll do well.
That's great to hear. Look forward to it.
Mr. Runyon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I'm just thrilled that we, after 2 years, and I'm sure Attorney Farnsworth is tired of coming here and
Well,
updating us.
Attorney Andrew Upton first. Right. I'll give him the credit.
Collectively, anyhow, I'm sure the firm is not happy to get this thing settled. And we are thrilled, like I say, to have a tenant in there. Certainly a tenant with the prestige is Strega. So application looks absolutely fine to me, and can't wait for you to get going.
Right, we can't either.
Mr. Spail?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm excited to see that this will be your flagship for your new kind of movement of the Strega Italiano, so that's kind of cool that we'll have that. Quick question, the Woburn location here, keeping that open as a steakhouse?
Right now, we've been operating as what we would call Strega Italiano. We wanted to see how much of our current clientele from Woburn would find their way over here versus a new set of clientele. And if we find that a lot of people are moving in, then we would re-embrace the steakhouse version of the Strega, that's Strega Prime.
Okay.
Because, after we purchased the brand, we kind of morphed the company into Strega Italian, really focusing on the heart of what Italian food is, fresh-made pastas and things like that. So we were excessively heavy with steak at Strega Prime and then strip in the Back Bay. And we've reduced that down to just 2 to 3 steaks. And if we feel like we've lost a lot of the clientele to this one, then we will kind of re-embrace our steak heritage there.
Okay, so you are keeping Woburn open, you're gonna be flexible on how the market dictates what you guys, okay. Sounds good, I look forward to trying it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I have one more quick question?
Yes.
Not that I'm anxious or anything, but what's the timeline?
Well, we love that question too, as we have our weekly meeting with our design team. The information I got today said, if all goes according to plan, they should be handing it over to us in mid-September. We know not everything goes according to plan these days, getting furniture, getting some small pieces of equipment. We would see anywhere between probably mid-September and mid-November. The sooner the better for us.
And for us.
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, first we'll go ahead and I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay, motion made,
Second?
seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, 5-0 to close the public hearing. All right, any further discussion?
I will make a motion,
All right, seeing none, making a motion?
yeah. Wall license transfer to Strega Burlington LLC.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Selectman Runyon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, good
Thank
luck,
you
we
very
look
much.
forward to
Thank you.
checking it out.
September.
Yeah, look forward to it.
All right. Moving on to 468, continue public hearing, granted location Verizon New England for Cambridge Street at Burlington Mall Road. Do we have the proponent this evening?
Yes.
Yes, online. You would identify yourself for everybody?
Yes, my name is Alexander Marrero. I work with Pi Telecom and Renewables LLC. I'm here as a representative of Verizon of New England Incorporated. I'm here in support of the proposal to place a new 4-inch conduit from State Highway 3A, also known as Cambridge Street, and a handhold in the medium of Burlington Mall Road. This project is being done in support of an AT&T 5G cell site that is being proposed to be placed on Burlington Mall Road on a new steel pole that will also be placed on the medium of Burlington Mall Road. And I'm also here to answer any questions that you might have about this project.
Okay. Questions? Mr. Españo, we'll start with you.
No questions this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Runyon?
No, this is Makes sense. It's for the 5G that we approved earlier this year. Okay, no questions.
Mr. Miranda?
No questions, sir.
Biggest?
Good.
No? Question, Paul, for you, actually. Is there any benefit in coordinating this with the cell tower that AT&T wants to put here in terms of tearing up the area
I think this is for that purpose.
for that purpose?
Yes.
All right. Any other questions or discussion? No?
Make a motion to close, the public.
Public, sorry, public hearing slip. All right, so anybody from the public here in the room, anybody who'd like to talk about this? No? All right, anybody online? Okay, and we'll start with a motion to close the public.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Okay, any further discussion from the board? No?
So I'll make a motion to grant the location of New England Verizon.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we got 469, Maytown Meeting Index of Articles. Mr. Denizio, is this you?
I'll take this one, Mr.
Paul,
Chairman,
this is you?
first. The first crack that the board will be doing is to vote the list of articles that Lynn provided, just to add them on to the official warrant. And then, the next agenda items, we'll start to get into some of the individual items up for vote. But the first vote we need is just to actually create the warrant itself.
Okay. Gentlemen, was there any discussions, concerns, questions about the list that was presented in the backup? No? Feeling okay about it? All right.
I'll make a motion, we approve the index of articles in the Maytown meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained? 500.
Thank you.
Okay. And now we go to 470 for approval of warrant articles 6 through 15. Now we go to John?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. These are some of the articles that fall under the administration, and we're looking for a select board vote for or against, so that we can let town meeting know as we move through the meeting on May 9th.
Okay.
So John's gonna give a little update on what they were. We can talk through each individually like that, and you can ask questions at that time. And then at the end, you can either vote them as a group if you choose, or vote them individually.
Okay. Mr. Denizio, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So tonight we have, for your review and a vote, is Articles 6 through 15 on the index that you just voted. We tried to sort of cut it in half and bring you about half at this meeting. We expect to come back with the rest of them at the next meeting. So the reason we're starting at 6 is we still have some questions on the first five about whether they're gonna move forward or not. So what I'd like to do is just go over briefly each of the articles. I'll stop for questions after each, and then we'll move on. So Article 6 is the fund revolving account. It's for $521,000. This is really, this is an annual article that you've seen every year since 2017. The origin of this is when these were departmental revolving funds that were, a bylaw was created so we didn't have to come back for annual approval and annual establishment of these funds. So now all we have to do each year at town meeting is just approve the expenditure limitation for each. Included in your backup was the backup that goes to town meeting, which is a detailed memo from our budget director, Whitney Haskell, which just outlines the 9 or 10 funds, what the limitation is, and included is a copy of the bylaw, which gives a little bit more detail on each, the name, the purpose, the source and use, and what happens at the end of each fiscal year. Questions on number 6, or move on?
Any questions on 6? Just a quick question, John. With the sealers of weights and measures being an adjustment period, leaving the funds where they are right now makes the most sense?
I think it does. At the last meeting, we approved that budget and the operating budget for half of it too. And I think we'll know more by the fall about exactly what we're gonna be doing. And if we think there's gonna be a need to increase that limit at all, we have a shot at doing it then too.
Okay. All right, great.
Mr. Chairman, Article 7 has 9 parts to it. Do you want me to do that one last, or just go in order?
Let's just go with it.
Go in order. Okay, Article 7 is our annual capital pay-as-you-go warrant. This is the capital projects that we fund through free cash or other sources, and stuff that typically isn't gonna go on the borrowing schedule. So these are items that come off our 10-year plan, that are, planned over time. We meet with the department heads, and we annually divvy out an amount of money, split it with the school department, and take care of some of the, under $1 million capital items, if you will. So the first one, the first 4 are from the DPW. The first one is for $20,000, Article 7-1. It's for a fence at the Chestnut Hill Cemetery. This is a fence that's on the edge of the property. You'll see the backup from Mr. Sanchez. He did provide me with one prop to pass around to you all, just a picture of the fence. So as you'll see, as we pass it around, is that it's in pretty bad shape. It's not just a aesthetic change. This is, the fence is kind of falling down. So it's time to take care of that. Any questions before I move on? 7-2 is an annual item in the DPW's request. This is for stream cleaning and repair and drainage repair. This is different from the stream cleaning that we talk about when conservation is here with their operating budget. This is when they actually have to do some drainage repairs to culverts or any other drainage type of repairs, and also for them to vector out the streams from any sediment that may have built up over time. And I think they try to 1 year do the culvert or drainage repairs, and 1 year do the vectoring. And then they have a target area each year that they focus on.
Okay, so this is more for the repair itself, and the cleaning is just a byproduct of that.
So the cleaning is twofold. I probably just added an area of complexity that I didn't need to, but conservation has money in their budget too, and this question always gets asked, so that's why I brought it up. But they have people that go down and clean up by hand, does trash or whatever. Their cleaning at DPW is actually vectoring and sucking out the sediment that has built up over time from when we used to use sand on the road. That gets in there and builds up over time.
I'm pretty sure I've asked this question the last 3 years now, so.
So we both had it.
Making a thing of it. All right.
The next one is for the Grandview Ave pump station design. What they have been doing is asking for design work for a pump station in 1 year, and then coming back and asking for the money to actually repair or rebuild the pump station. This one is Grandview Ave. It's for $130,000 for the design work, and attached to the backup was just some of the highlights of what's wrong with it and why it needs to be repaired, why it falls on. There was a pretty detailed study done in 2012 by Weston and Sampson, and we're just getting to the last few repairs of these now. So there'll be an item later on that will be talking about the same thing. 7-4 is the annual DPW vehicle replacement. This is the commitment to make sure that our fleet is safe and maintained. And this year there are 4 pieces of equipment that are being replaced for $593,000. That's because there are a couple of big ticket items on there, a couple of trucks, and then some big ticket items of the sweeper and the sidewalk plow. So those are invaluable tools, and we just have 2 that are coming up for replacement now. So those are on there.
Does this sidewalk plow happen to be the one that ate the mattress this winter? Or is this one just old?
I'm not sure if it's the same.
I saw that picture and I was horrified.
This one is from 2008, so.
Okay. So if
I'm
this
not
one
sure if
ate
it's
the
the same
mattress,
one, but
would it
it's.
survive?
That finishes the DPW ones, and move on to public safety. Fire is next. This is phase 2 of the communication plan upgrade that we approved phase 1 last year for just over $1.2 million. And that was the beginning of replacing the receivers and repeaters throughout the town for That's the public safety communication system, the radio system for both police and fire. This was the phase one that is ongoing and being completed as we speak, included the beginning of replacing all that equipment and also the replacing of the consoles that were in a state of failure at both police and fire, and to rebuild the safety channels. They call it Channel 1 and Channel 2. I'm sure Mr. Tigas and Mr. Runyon could explain more than I could. But that was in phase one. Phase two is to continue on that and finish up basically the infrastructure part of this. This is three new repeaters to improve coverage throughout the town. It's replacing the PA systems at the police station and the fire stations, the internal PA systems, and complete the infrastructure part of it. There is a following phase three part that will be the final step, which would be to replace the radios, both portable and mobile, the radios that are in our vehicles, and then the radios that people carry around. That will be back either next year or the year after. This is phase two. It's $700,000, and it's the completion of the infrastructure part of the project we started last year that was approved at town meeting last year. Next public safety is 7.6. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll wait till you finish. You can finish, I'll come back to it.
The next public safety warrant is a combined police and fire. It's 7.6. It's for $439,500. This is a police and fire records management and dispatch system. This would be a new computer-aided dispatch system for both police and fire. The police have a system that's outdated, that doesn't have great compatibility, and we would need to spend some money on add-ons to be able to accomplish some of the new regulations from the Police Reform Act, and fire doesn't even have a computer-aided dispatch system. There's a detailed memo from Chief Brown in there, so I won't go over everything of it, but the big ticket items are requirements from police reform for the police side, but also most importantly for safety of our folks. This will now allow us the ability for, if fire are going to a call or police are going to a call and the other one isn't, and for instance, if police were going to a call at a business that has dangerous chemicals or something in it, they would have no way of knowing that when they showed up. In the same vein, the fire, if they were going to a call at a home with a dangerous person that police has in their system, they would have no way of sharing that info. So those are just some of the benefits. Like I said, Chief Brown has a much more detailed memo in there with more specifics and things like that in there. Two more, public safety, police network. There's been a lot of talk about the IT network in the town. The police and library have separate networks from the town for important reasons, and they're required to. We're trying to work it so when we do our hardware refresh, which we commonly refer to as the Cisco lease, which just started a couple of years ago, it's a 5-year plan. We're figuring out a way where we can incorporate the police and library into that. They haven't been till now. This is to solve that. The police have several switches, total of 7 switches that have been end of life and end of support and need to be replaced now. So that's why this is coming separate, so that there has been work to try to incorporate this in the future, but they've traditionally done their network security, hardware and software separate from the town. The last public safety one, 7-8, is police body-worn cameras. These are, I think everybody knows what a body-worn camera is, that the town hasn't had them to date. The proposal or the warrant article would provide for a camera, a little less than 100 cameras. The police department was able to secure a grant to cover the cost of the cameras, but that's only a portion of the cost, a little less than half. The real cost comes with both the licenses and mostly with the storage costs of all the video. We don't yet have a finalized policy of how long we keep the video, or what, but we will obviously have that all in place before we get them on the street. So this is to try to take advantage of $184,000 grant and basically getting the cameras for free. Because, the feeling is that this is coming anyway, let's get ahead of it, take advantage of that grant. This would be, the request is for $222,000, which would be our portion. That's the highest of, that our portion could be. Again, a detailed memo from Chief Brown about the process and a cost breakdown.
Sorry, John, would the cost go up if the storage cost is different than what we're predicting? Or do we already have a decent sense of how's that gonna shake out?
No, that's a good question, Mr. Chairman. This is based on the few that are doing it now, and from Mass Chiefs has been doing a lot of research on this, trying to estimate for folks how many terabytes you're gonna need or whatever. So I think this is a good estimate based on the info they have now. But it was something that we're definitely gonna have to keep an eye on.
Okay.
So that's it for public safety. I don't know if you want me to take.
Is 7, 9 the only one that's left in 7?
In 7, yeah, and I think Melissa's here to speak
Okay.
about.
Let's hold. Mike, and I get a question.
No?
Yeah, by all means.
Not a question, actually, more of a comment. Listen, I've been advocating for a central dispatch station for 10 years now, okay? These are high-ticket items when you're talking about the communications equipment. So we've got equipment over here, we've got the same equipment over here, not to mention personnel manning the 2 different dispatch centers. Let me just say this, just please keep in mind, when we get closer to a new facility for our police department, that we have adequate space to combine these 2 centers into one more efficient operation, less costly operation. That's all I have.
Just to follow up what Mr. Runyon said, I agree, it would make much more sense. But right now, I know we don't have the physical building to do that, because the requirements are extensive as far as securing the building, the technology, all that stuff. So I think it's a great idea once we have the space, so. And just to follow up, I know these consoles and radios have failed, and they have to get replaced sooner than later.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I guess a question probably for selecting tickets and running, because they have more experience. When you want to centralize the dispatch, are they the same type of calls, could the same type of dispatcher handle both police and fire? Because in my preparation for becoming a select board member, I met with a lot of the department heads, and I was talking to Chief Patterson about this exact issue. And I was just curious about if the same type of dispatcher could handle both types of calls, because it makes sense to, if they can do the same job, like why have 2 centralize it and have it more coordinated? I'm just wondering, are the type of calls, and I'm really asking out of curiosity, the type of calls the same that a police dispatcher would do and a fire dispatcher would do?
Many communities currently do that.
Okay.
Lexington made that transition 15 or 20 years ago. They had 2, they combined them into one facility. Everyone's receives the proper training, and it's working just fine over there in Lexington and dozens of other communities.
Yeah, it sounds like huge
In
cost.
fact, some of them are actually regionalized now up in the Danvers area. Not working quite so well for the regional one, but locally, it should be able to transition relatively easily.
I can, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I concur with Selectman Runyon, that regional is not the way to go. I mean, every regional dispatch that I'm aware of has had issues with geographic responses, multiple towns with the same street address, street name. But I do believe at some point, we could professionalize even more our staff, our communications department, communications center, But again, down the road, because of the physical building we're gonna need, it is definitely something worth looking at, you know, and avoid some of the duplication.
Yeah, sounds like it'd be a huge cost saving. Sounds like a good idea then. Thank you, gentlemen. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to point out there, it's definitely something that's been talked about over the years. It's something, if we did have the space, we would sort of work towards that. I just want to point out, I do believe it will be a much more efficient operation, but may not save us a lot of money on, you know, people that have looked at it. We don't necessarily anticipate it being a huge cost savings to the town, but certainly will increase common sense and efficiency in the way we do things.
Great. John, the only question that I had was, around the IT security. The date that's in here, I know it's public record, but I'm not gonna say it, scares me. We should make sure that we've got a better cascading approach to IT security infrastructure moving forward. We should never lapse like that again. And I'm saying that out loud so that everyone at this dais hears it. And maybe it's something that we can work with ISAC, you know, over, just to ensure, like, I would rather see a smaller sum of funds be appropriated, you know, more frequently to ensure there's no lapse of coverage.
I just want to point out that that's just the documented date. There hasn't been any failures, breaches, anything like that.
No, I know. And thank God.
Yep.
You know, but anyways. All right, no further questions on the current 7 up till now? All right, then we'll go to 7-9.
So we have Melissa here, Mr. Chairman, too.
Melissa, virtually, hello.
Hello. I think you're muted.
Thank you. Hi, for the record, Melissa Tentopoulos, Economic Development Director, and wanted to, you know, kind of share some of the thinking around this request for this warrant article. It's $35,000 for the town center kind of 3A roadway analysis. So as you may recall, when I first started over 2 years ago, some of the core areas that were my focus were, you know, life science, kind of the Mall Road corridor, and town center. And when you go into, you know, talking to the stakeholders about the town center, the biggest concern, not aside from seeing redevelopment, had been the 3A, the roadway itself. Concerns about safety, not only for, you know, pedestrians, but for vehicles, lack of bicycle access, and connections to across the way to better kind of knit together our town center. So over the last couple, you know, years now, we've been working with existing business owners and property owners. But one thing that's been kind of revealed over time is the overhaul needed on 3A to really form a town center. So the overhaul is a multi-million-dollar project that we look at improving safety and the infrastructure along 3A. But as we know, it's also a state road. So we need, you know, kind of the collaboration with MassDOT. So knowing that, we also kind of coincidentally started working, and we got a place at the table with the MPO. So the MPO is a metropolitan planning organization that helps funnel some of the, I would say, discretionary funds that comes from the federal government into municipal projects. So now we have a better seat at that table, and I think we have some influence. That said, we do not have a 3A, you know, town center project anywhere in what they call the universe of projects listed for the state on this, what they call the TIP list, the Transportation Improvement Project list. So, so there's that void. Nonetheless, MassDOT has been moving forward on resurfacing different projects. They get certain amount of money every year to do maintenance. So through the last year, we just had, you know, an assessment of 3A, and they did do another road audit assessment. And again, revealed the issues that we kind of all know, the dangers, the high crash incidents. And so the consultant really said, hey, you know, you should do more than just resurface this area. You should kind of consider an overhaul. MassDOT looked at us and said, well, do you have any plans? And we looked at one another and we really said, no, we don't have any study, anything recent. Dan has looked in the archives. We have looked at the overlay, but in terms of a real roadway analysis and how it might unlock future development as well, we really haven't done that. So the ask really is to put together our first step in our initiation to move forward roadway improvements, in particular for 3A around the town center. And we have a little bit of a head start because we did have that road audit analysis, but this analysis will get us kind of positioned so that MassDOT will see the, kind of that maintenance project they're working on as kind of a phase 1, and what we'll be trying to propose is a phase 2. And I think that will better position us for a multi-million-dollar overhaul. That said, we also wanted to go to town meeting because we really want the town to have this for consideration, because it's been something talked about, but we really need to invest in the next step. And if we don't want to do that, which is understandable, or if we want to move in a different direction, I think the administration would like to know that so we can, adjust the work plan and accordingly. Otherwise, we're trying to make progress without the right investment, if that makes sense. That was a lot of information, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, let's start with some question discussion. Jim, we'll start with you.
No questions, but I do like that term, multi-million-dollar overhaul.
All right, Joe?
No questions. It's a big project, and I don't know how much the state has to do with it. Melissa's trying to get, if you have any plans to state road. So what are we doing here?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's gonna be a lot behind this project if it goes through, or however it works, so.
Mike?
Yeah, well, being on the subcommittee, economic subcommittee, we have sort of talked about this a few times. I find it kind of interesting that they were surprised when MassDOT asked them if they had a plan and not. As far as they felt like they kind of caught off guard. Should have anticipated that. But at any rate, no, I think it's a money well spent. This is a section of town that's been talked about for decades and decades, and desperate need of some improvement. It's always been difficult, if not impossible, to get the attention of DOT to play ball with us. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for it, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of leverage once the study is complete to actually get something done. So kudos to you. I like your fortitude. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
And Mike?
Thank you, sure. No, I'm in favor of anything that takes a look at the town center and tries to improve it to make it better. So fully in favor of this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Melissa, has any part of the conversation been about us taking control of this section of road as opposed to partnering with the state, given the state's, I don't want to say reluctance, maybe just general confusion?
There's been some initial conversation. There hasn't been a feasibility analysis or anything like that discussed. I think this would probably lend itself to better understanding of what that would take and define the area, but not at this time.
Okay. Yeah, this is definitely, when we first started talking about it, I said, in my head, well, it's the state road, let them deal with it. But this is obviously a massive pain point that I think we've been talking about since Burlington, was founded, probably. So I'm in full support of it. I think that hopefully it gives us some traction moving forward to, like you said, gain some understanding of whether or not the road needs to become a Burlington road or remain a state road, and find a better partnership with the state. But definitely in favor of it.
Sure, may I add something?
Yeah.
I just thought of a question for Melissa. Melissa, I know the work Catherine Madden is doing over at the Mall Road is partially funded by grants. Are there any grants or anything like that we can apply for to help fund
some of the study, or is there anything available from the state that can help us look at it?
At this point, not currently on our timeline, I should say that, not currently on our timeline. So I think we will always pursue those opportunities and currently exploring the newest one, which is, complete neighborhoods. We'll be looking at the the one stop, but leveraging, I think right now, kind of our seat at the MPO and leveraging, kind of helping it move along at the tip. I've seen this through my experience working in Somerville, living in Arlington, and then seeing just Lexington, pay for something like this on their own. There's a lot more help if you're working with MassDOT on it.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Any other questions for Melissa? Okay, seeing none, Melissa, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
On to Article 8.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Article 8 is another one of those annual articles you see every year. This is acceptance of Chapter 90. I know that all of you know what Chapter 90 is, but for those that don't, that's the state's funding of local transportation projects. For FY '23, the town of Burlington allotment will be just shy of 1.1 million at $1,090,837, and this goes into the pool of money we use to maintain our roads. Article 9, another annual article. The purpose of this article is to authorize the payment of and the transfer of the money to pay for 3 existing MWRA 0% loans for our I&I project. I&I stands for, I know you all know, but for those that don't, sewer. I&I stands for inflow and infiltration. I have to write it down because I mispronounce it every time I say it. So we have, the town participates in an excellent program run through the MWRA where we borrow a sum of money, and 75% of that sum ends up becoming a grant to us, and the remaining 25% is paid back through 0% 10-year notes. So it's a tremendous program. The town's been doing it for a long time. Right now, we have 3 outstanding loans, and the memo tells you how many payments we have left on each.
So John, what we'll do is if nobody asks questions, then just move to the next
going.
one. Otherwise, somebody just raise your hand or ask to be acknowledged. And that way we'll just keep this moving. I won't have to go through the whole rigmarole of asking you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
6 more. Go ahead.
Article 10 is another annual article. This is to authorize and establish the operating budget for FY '23 for the Sewer Enterprise Fund. As you know, the sewer is run a little different than the operating. It's a separate enterprise fund, which means it's a different type of fund set up by the state. There's a memo attached for Mr. Sanchez that just talks about what this is for. So basically, we have sewer rates that we use and collect and are deposited into this enterprise fund, and that pays for the sewer, the assessment we get from the MWRA for treating all of our sewage and some small maintenance type projects or debt service or something like that. The pandemic has hit the sewer revenues pretty hard, to the tune of about 10% on the commercial side. Luckily, there is a retained earnings because this is an enterprise account. It's different from the operating budget. At the end of the year, if we collected more money than we spent, it remains in that fund. It becomes retained earnings, sort of like a business would have. It's sort of like the free cash of the enterprise fund, if you will. It's certified the same way as free cash through the state. And luckily, our revenues will run a little short projecting for this year and next year, but there are retained earnings that cover that. We're expecting next year to potentially have to cover about $300,000 of the $6.2 million in the sewer enterprise budget. Article 11, transfer to water stabilization. This is an annual article like the previous ones. This one you actually see twice a year. You see it in January when we move the money from free cash into the water stabilization fund, and then you see it in May when we take that money we moved in there and use it to offset the operating budget. Why do we have it? This came about as the mechanism for us to capture the additional revenues from the plan to raise water rates over a 10-year span, a smaller amount per year to help fund the connection to MWRA. So this will happen. We'll continue to do this exercise of capturing the money that closes to free cash, transferring the additional revenue out of free cash into the stabilization, and then transferring that money back to the operating budget the following year to help offset that until we borrow all of the money for the MWRA project and the rate increases have all been calculated. Once that happens, it will just become part of the operating budget. We won't be doing this exercise. But until then, that's what we do. There's a memo from Budget Director Whitney Haskell that you're pretty used to seeing this time of year. Article 12 is not an annual article, something new. Important to note that this is actually an article for FY '22, the current year we're in. So as you saw in the backup, this is to request $500,000 from free cash to help offset the additional costs we've absorbed, pun intended, in the operating budget for having to buy more water than we had planned from MWRA. When the PFAS notification and requirements came to us last spring, we had to work hard to plan, design, and plan for the filtration systems at our own water. We also had to immediately start buying more water than we planned from MWRA. So we had planned to buy about 150 million gallons in FY '22. We're buying instead $1 million a day. We're gonna potentially buy about 380 million gallons this year. So that's to about an extra $1 million. Part of that was absorbed, unintended again, in the operating budget, about half of that because we're producing less of our own water. There's some savings there for that. Was able to cover about half of it. The other half, $500,000, is what we're asking for free cash. This is a problem we don't expect to have next year because they've been able to plan for it. So Mr. Sanchez tipped us off to this last fall. We said, well, let's wait till May so we have the most accurate number we can, and we'll go to Maytown meeting to request that transfer. Article 13 is not an annual, it's a biennial. I think that's how you say it. Article where it comes every 2 years. This is the continuation of the commitment of the town to improve and maintain critical infrastructure. So this is what we commonly refer to as the road bond. You'll see in the backup that it's a little different this time. It's been $3 million every other year. So this is part of the infrastructure commitment where we borrow $3 million for roads 1 year. The next year we do $1.5 million for water mains, and we rotate like that. We don't always borrow it. Sometimes we pay free cash. This year you'll see that the amount is a little different than you're used to seeing. It's an additional $500,000 in there. This is part of commitment to dedicate $500,000 towards new sidewalks in town. This was from an initiative from Sidewalk Committee through town meeting, working with Ways and Means, working with this board, working with the administration to come up with a plan that we wouldn't be just transferring from free cash to do these things. We could make it part of our every 2-year commitment so that now it's built in and it's something that we can continue to do. The $3.5 million broken down to about $2 million for roads, about $500,000 for lots, municipal lots, and what used to be $500,000 for repairing sidewalks, and now we've added another $500,000 for new sidewalks. So the engineering group will put together a plan, a priority list of what's going to be new after this is approved.
Thank you. How much of the previous fiscal year's $500,000 for new sidewalks was actually spent last?
So this will be the first time we're adding it into the bond for new sidewalks. This this approval will be the first time we're doing that for new sidewalks.
I thought we had set some money aside in a little account just for new sidewalks, and as roads were come up on a repaving schedule, then they would draw from that account. I don't know if it's been exhausted,
Remember,
has
Wendy,
it?
I do believe town meeting set aside some money for sidewalks specifically, that was still on the books, so we can get an update on that from the engineering department in terms of what they've, been doing with that money.
Ready?
Do you want me to go to 14?
Yeah.
So Article 14 is Partridge Lane Pump Station for $1.1 million. I talked earlier about the Grandview Ave Pump Station design money. The Partridge Lane, we got the design money a couple years ago, designed the project. It's 1.1 million. This will approve the project. This is planned to come from free cash and to keep it off the borrowing schedule. Attached is some backup from Mr. Hayes, just about what the deficiencies were. If anybody knows where this is, I guess it was built in 1967. It's in pretty bad shape. It's done its work for us. And the last one, Mr. Chairman, is Article 15. This is another annual article. This is just an authorization. The PEG Access Enterprise Fund, similar to the Sewer Enterprise Fund, this is a separate fund, and really, it's a clearing fund for us. We get money from the three cable providers in town. We've talked about it quite a bit at this meeting when Whitney comes in. We've approved some of the contracts. The PEG Access, PEG stands for Public Educational Governmental. These are the required channels that those providers collect money on your cable bill, if you have one, and provide it to the town. The town takes in the money, provides it to BCAT for their operating expenses. There's a memo attached in the backup from Budget Director Whitney Haskell.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to point out on this one, I'll have to abstain because of my involvement with BCAP, so that will not be a separate vote.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know. All right, that was a lot of information. While we're taking a deep breath, any questions, comments, concerns on what has been presented? No, I'm feeling generally asked our questions throughout, okay? Paul, anything you want to add?
I have nothing to add, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, well then, if folks want to, we can take 6 through 14, whole 15 because of Mr. Espejo's conflict, and then do that separately. All right.
So I'll make a motion to vote 6 through
14.
14.
Okay, motion made.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? 5-0-0. Okay, then we just need Article 15.
Make a motion to approve Article 15.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstain?
Abstain.
4-0-1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and as I said before, we'll be back at the next meeting for the rest of any articles that the board wishes to take a vote on.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Appreciate you taking all that time to walk us through. That was a lot.
Mr. Chairman, it would be helpful if the board members review that list of articles and just see. We will bring to you the traditional ones that typically fall under the administration, but if there are any other articles that the board wants to take a position on, you can certainly do that as well.
Great.
Just give us a heads up on that.
Definitely. All right, moving on to 471, approval of the minutes. We've got 5 meeting minutes to approve. Does anybody have any corrections, questions, comments, concerns on any of these? I'll call it out. Strategic planning was first on 1.5, anything? Okay. On 124, we had a regular meeting. Any? Okay. 214 regular. Okay. 228 alcohol subcommittee. All right. And 228 regular. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept the minutes for meeting of strategic planning, January 5th, 2022, regular meeting on January 24th, 2022, our regular meeting on February 14th, 2022, the Alcohol Subcommittee meeting on 2/28/22, and our regular meeting on 2/28/22.
Okay, motion made.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
Okay, 4-0-1. All right, gentlemen, that takes us to our subcommittee reports. Jim, start with you.
I have nothing at the moment.
Okay, Joe?
Nothing.
All right. Mike?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, well, let me do this then. I want to thank everybody, and I mean everybody, win, lose, or draw, who participated in the town's local election over the weekend. Congratulations to those. We had a number of folks first time out. It was a very good showing for them, as well as some of the challengers out there who didn't win a seat. We hope to see them back out there again next year. The other thing I wanted to, tonight, we do a lot of things other than meet here on Mondays, as you all know, whether it be subcommittees or attending ribbon cutting ceremonies. We do a number of different things, and it takes a lot of our time. I had the distinct honor and pleasure this past Saturday of attending a 100th birthday party, and presented on behalf of the board a proclamation to longtime Burlington resident Olga D. Diaz. She was a delightful woman. She's got an enormous family. She used to make her home over on Gamley Drive, but recently she's moved across the street over there to Stonebrook. There was a ton of kids there. They call her the flying grandmother because she has such a large family, and they're sort of scattered all across the country, in Puerto Rico and even overseas. And so whenever there was a new grandchild addition to the family or what have you, she would get on an airplane and go. She taught for a period of time at the Burlington High School. She was also a volunteer receptionist at St. Malachi's Church for several years, and she's was also a lay Eucharistic minister over at Leahy Hospital, so she's got some real strong ties here to the community. So it was a real treat to spend time with Olga and her family on Saturday. So again, happy birthday, Olga. It was great meeting you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Smago, I know you don't have any subcommittee reports yet, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
In a future meeting. I have nothing for subcommittee reports, which will take us to 473, Chairman's Report. Two quick things. First, I want to thank Amy Warfield, our town clerk, and her entire staff for the amazing work they do in conducting elections, all elections. This past town election, if you came out and voted, if you were one of the 15%, the roughly 2,600 folks that came out and voted, you probably had a very similar experience to mine, which was incredibly smooth, wildly efficient, just in and out. And so, that just doesn't, happen. That is, through all of Amy's hard work and effort. And we are very lucky to have Amy as our town clerk, and I just want to publicly thank her and her entire team, and all the volunteers who were down there, manning the polling stations and making sure it ran as smoothly as it did. So thank you to Amy. The other thing is that I know we have citizens' time at the end of our meeting. At our next meeting, we will be moving it to the front of our meeting, but for tonight, I'm going to be limiting folks to 2 minutes if you'd like to speak. And then at the start of our next meeting, I will be reviewing the new guidelines I put together, and we will be moving forward under those. So if you're interested, you can stay tuned at the beginning of our next meeting. Paul, to you, 474, Town Administrator's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd also like to reiterate the great work of Amy Warfield and her staff. I mean, they work tirelessly during election season, around the clock, weekends, early mornings, after work. You just constantly see their cars out there, and they run an extremely efficient office, and they really always make us proud during election time. Everybody constantly remarks to me what an efficient election process we have here in town. So kudos to Amy and her staff. And just hopefully a bit of good news. John Sanchez let us know that we may be receiving a grant to offset some of that MWRA water that we have on the warrant for this year. So we're hopeful we'll be able to adjust that funding down. And again, that's, it was a very necessary expenditure. We wanted to dilute the PFAS water as much as possible as part of that project to remediate that. And it was certainly necessary. And again, I'm grateful that we may have some funding to sort of offset that expenditure. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Paul. Takes us to citizens' time. Anybody here in the room? Mr. Gallagher?
So you can't be seen there, so that's why I pulled, yeah, you got to stay in this chair. Yeah, sorry.
So for the sake of everybody, please go ahead and identify yourself.
Philip
I'm gonna go ahead
Gallagher,
and start
8
this.
Corcoran Road.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman,
2
members
minutes,
of
the
the
floor
board.
is yours.
Congratulations, and Paul, Lynn, John, congratulations to Mr. Espaillo for his election, and also to you, Chairman Priest, to your ascendancy to the throne. I'll be quick, 2 minutes. Okay, I read the chairman of the DEI's latest letter to you on March 3rd, in which the sentence was the town of Burlington, or you failed to recognize that the town of Burlington is falling apart, and there's little focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Excuse me, Dr. Reed. If Dr. Reed is leading this committee under that premise, then that statement cannot go unchallenged because it's not true. We are actually flourishing in this area, and you know that's true by the number of programs that you have supported and the places that you've been over the years, and the amount of money that we spent to address these issues in housing, in transportation, in education, special education, disability needs, etc. And I'm prepared to give dozens of examples of this, okay? And I presume that Dr. Reed is prepared to give examples to buttress her opinion or her position on this subject. So with that in mind, I invite Dr. Reed or any of her committee members to join me in a debate on this subject to determine whether or not Burlington is falling apart, and present that to the general public, either here on your agenda, or if that's not appropriate, at BCAT with a neutral moderator. Because this simply cannot be unchallenged. We are not falling apart. We've been a community of migrants and immigrants
All
from
right,
other
Phil, sorry,
communities.
that's time. That's your 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Anybody else like to speak? Anybody else in the room? Okay, going to the screen, I see Mr. Strauss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations on all the good promotions. I just wanted to speak, John Strauss from Precinct 4. And I just wanted to speak in support of what Melissa was saying about the studies for the 3A improvements. On my work on the Town Meeting Transportation Committee, to let you know that the MPO does have assistance available for studies like that. They've done similar studies down in Dedham and Braintree on similar roadways like 3A. So just to let you know that not all is lost, and we don't have to spend like umpteen amounts of money to get what we want done. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Strauss.
Good information.
John Strauss is a wealth of funding information. You're never allowed to leave, John. This is an FYI. All right, anybody else for citizen sign? Okay, seeing nobody else.
I haven't been able to do this in a long time. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion made. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, 5-0-0.